Alrighty, I have from here to here done. Now, I did not sew down my side pink ones because I said if I sew them down and they're crooked, then this right here will end up crooked. So we don't want to sew it down now. So now, let me turn this around. Alright, so now, what I want to do now is I want to sew down my pink. I will start right here and work my way down. And back stitch as I go. Get this sewed down. Then I want to come right here in the middle. And I want to sew this one down. And then I want to work on these right here, blocks. And I want to sew them down. And before I sew them down, I want to take my pins out because I noticed one of these blocks, it went out crooked and I didn't like it. So take my pins out as I sew them down so they won't come out crooked. I do not want to sew any of this. We want to do it last. Okay, so we're going to work on this one. And that will make this whole part here done. And then, scoop this one up. Then we'll work on this side after we get this one done. Good. Alright. I need to be able to work on this side, and this is going to be a lot underneath the sewing machine. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay it out, and then we're going to fold it up. Now as we fold it up, I want to leave a bit here. Let's see, that would be a bit, not here, not here. So let's get it folded. Alright, now I need to leave a bit so I can pin it down. Yep, I think that'll be it. Come on. Just turn it around. Okay, there we go. Alright, now, see if we can't pin it down. Just leave a little bit so that, put our needle in it and pin it down. Go past my pink. Past some pink. Now, everything down this way except for the corner is sewed. Now we need to start sewing this right here down. Alrighty. Now here we're at the sewing machine. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to work on this pink. I don't want to sew down this way. I want to do it last. I want to sew down this way, all the way down to the end, right here to this point here, and then sew it up and sew it across. And as I go, I'm going to take my pins out so that they don't interfere with it.
Or anything like that. He's going to present himself as the Messiah. So one, he must be a king. We know that this is a king. One, he must claim to be God. Another, he must claim to be God. Another, he must be of the line of King David. Another, he must have power greater than any other on earth. And he must be able to bring the world together to save humanity. Now, David, would you add anything to that list? I know that there's so many other things that we could add probably, but would you say that that is a fair list of things that need to happen?
That's a pretty good list of the top 5 bullet points. You know, these are pretty spot on.
Yeah, because, you know, there's a lot of different religions looking for Messiah right now. And 3 of the top ones that I can think of are the Judaism. They're looking for their Messiah. The Buddhists and New Agers are looking for their Messiah. And so are the Islamic people looking for their Messiah. Now, these are the names of Maitreya is the Buddhist / New Age Messiah. I remember a speech where the name of the man escapes me. You would know exactly who I'm talking about, but he made a speech about the Antichrist being in London since
Benjamin Krim.
Benjamin Krim. He made a speech declaring that Maitreya was there in London. And I remember that speech. You remember that speech?
Yeah.
That was interesting. And there's stuff in a book that I'm going to talk about in a minute that associates that time frame with something interesting. And then you have the Mahdi, which is going to have to be something the whole Islamic world will accept as their Messiah. Now, that's a big order to fill, right? To be able to be accepted by the Islam, by the New Age, Buddhists, and to be accepted by Judaism, and to be accepted by the rest of the world is going to be a feat. And a lot of people would say there's nobody alive right now that could possibly fulfill those things. Now, I want to give credit where credit's due, because me and David have been talking about these things a lot. We've been looking into these things, and there's a guy that wrote several books. And because of these books, I had a suspicion for a long time that the Antichrist would be of a certain lineage, because ultimately most lineages of all the powerful people in the world boil down to one area. And these books prove that. And we've talked about this many times in the past and looked it up, looked at the charts, looked at the lore on all of these different families. And by reading these books and also looking at those qualifications, I've come to the conclusion that whoever will be the Antichrist will be out of the royal family that comes from the Welsh. They will be from that family. They're all the families of the world ended up modeling down to the Merovingian, Tudor kings and all of that, and then they culminated into the king that we have now. The king that we have now, King Charles. And when I say the king that we have now, people are like, he's not our king. We got independence from him, independence from them in the United States. But I would beg to differ on that, because I'll show you why I beg to differ that we got independence from Britain here in a minute. But I would definitely beg to differ, and I can show you why here in a minute. So this is another clue that I want to get into real in depth here, because I think that David, you'll have a lot to say about this, and we could talk about this subject. This could be a whole show on its own, really, and I believe we have done shows on this before. And Revelation 13, it says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." Now, the key words that I've highlighted here are out of the sea. Now, I'm going to read from this book called The Bloodline of the Holy Grail, one of the books that I have on here, and I'm going to go to page 150, and this book is about the Pendragons, and we're going to read about this because this is where this kingship lineage comes from. When it says out of the sea, it's saying out of the sea for a reason. I'm going to read why that reason they're saying it coming out of the sea is right here for you guys, because this is really mind-blowing. Okay, so I'm just going to read from here in the 2nd chapter here. If you have this book, this is a chapter you can go to and kind of look at here. So it says, "The immortal sea beast was said to be ever incarnate in a dynasty of ancient kings, whose symbol was a fish. This became an emblem of the Merovingian kings, along with the Lion of Judah and the Fleur de Lis, which was introduced in the late 5th century by King Clovis to denote the royal bloodline of France. Prior to this, the familiar Judaic trefoil had been emblematic on the covenant of circumcision. Both the rampant lion and the fleur-de-lis were later incorporated into the royal arms of Scotland. I'm going to read one more paragraph here. In Arthurian lore, the Davidic sovereign lineage was represented by the Fisher Kings of the Grail family, and the patriarch line was to denote the name of Anfortis, a symbolic style corrupted in Infortis, meaning in Latin in strength. It was identified with the Hebrew name Boaz, the great-grandfather of David, who is remembered in modern Freemasonry. And it goes on to talk a little bit more about these Grail Kings, but it also talks about, this is why we see the symbol of the fish, the ictus, and this is why we have the Pope that has the mitre. This is where we hear about Dagon, because they all go back to these Dagon, these beasts that came from the sea. When you look back in ancient Mesopotamia, you see that is the same lore where these kings, these Anunnaki, Akkad, or Akkadian kings came, not Akkadian, and then whatever, the Nephilim kings, this is where they came. Anunnaki is the name I'm looking for. Anunnaki kings, this is where the lineage derives from. And so, like we said before, now a lot of people have said, well, how did anything survive? How were there giants after the flood? And I think this gives us a clue why, because there is a family, a lineage that actually comes from a sea beast. And the sea beast, when we talk about the Penda dragons, it's pretty interesting. I'm going to read this too real quick, David. It says, the Sicambrian Franks, from whose female line the Merovingians emerged, were associated with Grecian Arcadia before migrating to Rhineland. As we've seen, they called themselves the New Mage, or the New Covenant, just as the Essenes of Qumran had once been known. This Arcadian legacy was responsible for the mysterious sea beast, the Biste Neptunus, as symbolically defined in the Merovingian ancestry. The relevant sea lord was King Pallas, a god of old Arcadia, whose predecessor was the great Oceanus. In fact, the concept dated back as far as the ancient kings of Mesopotamia, who were said to be born of Tiamat, the great mother of the primordial salt waters. So, David, add something to that, man. I know you got some salt you want to add on there.
Well, from the earliest times, if you look at the serious students of the mysteries like Mr. Garnier and Mr. Hislop, the oldest secret name for God ever known and used in the Babylonian and Sumerian mysteries was Oannes, the beast that come out of the sea. And all of those legends talk about this beast that would come in and teach them their truth and all of this hidden knowledge that he had, and then at night he would slink back into the sea. And when we're talking people that are descended from the sea beast, we're talking about people really descended from the sea beast. And these people were so obsessed with keeping that bloodline pure. You can look at some of the people that are the British royals. You have some really strange looking people, because they would have brothers and sisters marry to keep that bloodline pure. And man, they had some strange looking folks there.
They really did. And I want to read this from this book. This is another book. And I want to also, I forgot to tell you this, the guy who wrote this book, his name is Lawrence Gardner. And a lot of you are familiar with Lawrence Gardner. He was a 33rd degree Freemason. He was director of antiquities for Scotland, and he was also a genealogist for the royal families and for the dukes and all of these different people. He did their genealogies, and he has the list of genealogies here in this book. And so I want to read from this book. This is the Genesis of the Grail Kings. This other one was the bloodline of the Holy Grail. This one's the Genesis of the Grail Kings. And I'm going to read from the end of the first page and part of the second page here.
I know it. They don't give a shit. Alrighty, I was waiting for my iPad to charge up. Man, I don't know what's going on, but that battery is it's going. Alright, so I started down here and I sewed this right here all the way around, and then I came up here and I sewed right here, and I either went this way or this way. And then I started sewing all this down, and I sewed this down, and then this, and then I went down here and I finished it up on this side. Now, me pull. You want to make sure that you get all your strings. Dadgummit, didn't want to do that. You want to cut all your strings on the front and the back. Now, let me see if I can't get you down here. There we go. Alrighty. And then I sewed this right here down. And I started over here and I sewed this down. Then I sewed this down, which is a big mistake. I should have started right here in the middle. I got a bubble right here that I wish that I wouldn't have got. And it's really not that good on either side. So I need to do this first and then do the sides. Alright, from there we are going to start on the other side. Get you back in the middle there. Alright. So now, on this one, I'm going to want to work on this pink first and sew it down. We're going to get rid of the pins as we go, because that one block that messed up down in here, I don't want to do it again. I want to try to keep it going the way that it should be going. Alright, so, and then I'm going to go right here in the middle, and I'm going to sew it after I sew the pink. And then I'm either going to go on this side and work my way out, and then I'll come back and I'll work on this side and work my way out. Then, and I'm not going to record all this, I'm just going to tell you. Then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to work on this pink and I'm going to sew it down. Then I'm going to work on my middle block, and hopefully it won't show up like the other block, and I'm going to finish that one. But however, I want to take and fix it to where I can sew it down. Get up here. I think it's right here. Yeah, right here. Alright, so take this and I'm gonna try to get it to where I can do it one more time. I want to be able to roll this up to where let's see. I think right here will work just fine. Yeah. Okay. Make sure. And now I'm going to pin it down to where I can, I wish I had thick pins for this. Yeah, these pins, they have been used so much. Some of them, you can't even use them anymore. So, I guess I'm going to try to see what I can do about finding me some pins. These are all messed up. Yeah, I want to get all the way to the end because there's a big bubble here. Big mess there. Alright, I'm going to leave that. I don't think I need one in between there. I just want to make sure that I got plenty of room, that I don't sew this down to it as I go. Alrighty, I'm going to sew it down, and then we'll come back and we'll sew one of the others down. Let's go over it one more time to make sure. I mean, you sew the blocks, all the blocks the same way. I'm going to sew this pink down all the way from one end to the other, and then I'm going to sew this middle one down. And then I'll work either on this one or this one and get it done, and continue to work out until I get it completely done on one side. Then I'll come back and I'll work on the other side. But I do want to make sure that I take out my pins, because I don't want them messing up my quilt block there. Alright, we're going to get this right here done. Someone asked me to show them where I got the patterns from. This does not have any patterns. You have to just look up the block and make your own pattern. And I do like the book, but if you want a pattern, let me know, and I will send you a pattern. Send me a self-addressed stamped envelope and which pattern that you want. So I will be able to find my pattern that I've got and send you a copy of it, or send you my original. It don't matter to me. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you later. Well, I didn't know this. They changed where my PayPal is. So here we go. We want to go right here. Still yet right there. Alright, and then if you look, right here is PayPal. I think it's crazy the way that they did not say, you know, they just do things. But there it is.